Shalom, Israel. Most High in Christ bless. This is Captain Lemuel. You are tuned into 15 Minutes with the Captains. We're going to touch on Mark chapter 7, verse 15, a popular verse that has been misunderstood, misinterpreted, been taught completely wrong, especially in your Christian church. So we got to deal with it, all right? So we're going to start in Mark chapter 7 and verse 15.
The book of Mark, chapter 7 and verse 15. There is nothing from without a man that entering into him can defile him. But the things which come out of him, those are they that defile the man.
So the popular Christian explanation is that, oh, you can eat whatever you want because it's not what goes into your mouth, it's what comes out. That's totally false. That's totally wrong. That is not what Christ was saying. You saying Christ, the black Messiah, was saying that you can eat whatever you want, you can put anything in your mouth, and it won't defile you. So you can eat pork, shrimp, crab, lobster, and it won't defile you. Come on now. You know that's not what the Messiah was referring to. So let's go back up in the chapter. We're not going to read the whole chapter, but we're going to start early on in the chapter and read it in context. All right? So Mark chapter 7, verse 1.
The book of Mark, chapter 7 and verse 1. Then came together unto him the Pharisees and certain of the scribes, which came from Jerusalem.
So the Pharisees and the scribes came from Jerusalem.
And when they saw some of his disciples eat bread with defiled, that is to say, with unwashed hands, they found fault.
They started to find fault with the disciples because why? They were eating food without washing their hands. So in the eyes of the scribes and the Pharisees, the disciples were defiled. They were eating defiled food. Go ahead.
For the Pharisees and all the Jews, except they wash their hands often, eat not.
They don't eat. Go ahead.
Holding the tradition of the elders.
Because that was the tradition that they received from their elders, from their fathers, was to always wash your hands before you eat. There's no at face value. There's nothing with washing your hands before you eat. You go in the bathroom or you go wherever, and in the latrine you get some soap, you wash your hands before you eat. Okay, but when it starts to become a tradition, that's the problem, and that's what the Pharisees and the scribes were pushing. They were pushing not eating food without washing your hands. They made that a tradition. Go ahead.
And when they come from the market, except they wash, they eat not. And many other things there be, which they have received to hold, as the washing of cups and pots, brazen vessels, and of tables.
So there were other traditions that they were holding on to. Washing pots, cups, brazen vessels, and of tables. Go ahead.
Then the Pharisees and scribes asked him, why walk not thy disciples according to the tradition of the elders?
So the Pharisees asked the Messiah, why do your disciples not hold fast to the tradition of the elders? What was the tradition? Washing your hands before you eat, washing pots, cups, various things. Go ahead.
But eat bread with unwashed hands.
It says, but eat bread with unwashed hands, or eating food that was defiled. Why? Because they didn't wash their hands before they ate. Because that was a tradition of the elders. Go ahead. So what was Christ's response?
He answered and said unto them, well hath Isaiah prophesied of you hypocrites, as it is written, this people honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me.
So what was the Messiah saying? He said, you know, Isaiah prophesied to y'all. Isaiah prophesied of you hypocrites that do what?
Honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me.
You honor me with your lips. You say, oh, this is the tradition of the elders. We do this for the Father. But your heart, meaning your mind, is far from me. Isaiah prophesied about that. Let's read that real quick. Isaiah chapter 29 and verse 13.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 29 and verse 13.
Come on.
Wherefore the Lord said, for as much as this people draw near me with their mouth.
So Isaiah was prophesying that this people in Christ's time was who? The scribes and the Pharisees. It said what?
Wherefore the Lord said, for as much as this people draw near me with their mouth, and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their heart far from me.
But have removed their heart far from me. Was that it on that?
And their fear toward me is taught by the precept of men.
The precept of men is the tradition of the elders. The tradition of the elders was what? Washing your hands before you ate. Washing the pots, the brazen vessels, tables before you ate. That was a tradition of the elders that they were pushing, thinking that they were doing service for the Father. All the while, their minds were far from the Lord. Matthew 23. What was Christ saying when he said, Isaiah spoke of you very well. This people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. We're going to read Matthew chapter 23, and you're going to read verse 23.
The book of Matthew, chapter 23 and verse 23.
I'm sorry. Jump down to verse 25.
Matthew, chapter 23 and verse 25. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites.
What?
Hypocrites.
See, Christ called them hypocrites here. Come on.
For ye make clean the outside of the cup and of the platter.
Because y'all would wash the outside of the cups, the pots, the brazen vessels. You would wash your hands before you eat. Why? Because the people saw that as righteous. That was a tradition of the elders. And in the same chapter, in 23 and 1, Christ said that the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. So they had status amongst Israel. They were the givers of the law, the interpreters of the law. But they was not doing it themselves. That's why Christ said they was hypocrites. So it said what? Read it again.
Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye make clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within they are full of extortion and excess.
But within you're full of extortion and excess. Come on.
Thou blind Pharisee, cleanse first that which is within the cup and platter, that the outside of them may be clean also.
So now we're going to see what that means in a minute. Let's go back to Mark chapter 7. You're going to read verse 7.
The book of Mark, chapter 7 and verse 7. Howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men.
Teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. The commandments or the traditions of men. They was not pushing the laws of God. They were pushing the traditions of men. Read on.
For laying aside the commandment of God, ye hold the tradition of men as the washing of pots and cups, and many other such like things ye do.
Come on.
And he said unto them, full well ye reject the commandment of God.
Reject the what?
The commandment of God.
Come on.
That ye may keep your own tradition.
That ye may keep your own tradition. So why was Christ getting on them? Because they were not teaching the commandments of God. This is the Messiah himself pushing the commandments. Getting on the scribes and the Pharisees for not pushing the commandments, but rather pushing the commandments of men. So how can Christians come and Christian pastors, popes, priests, how can bishops come behind now and say, oh, no, Christ did away with the law? Christ right here in red letters is saying himself, you reject the commandments of God and teach the traditions of men. What are some traditions of men that are pushed today in Christianity? Christmas, Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day, celebrating your birthday. Those are all traditions of men. You will reject the commandments of God, keeping the feast of Passover, keeping the feast of Pentecost, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy, even though your Messiah kept those things, kept those feasts. He wore fringes at the border of his garment and a border of blue. But you reject that. So guess what? Even in your Christian churches today, you reject your pastors are doing the same thing that the scribes and the Pharisees did. They reject the commandments of God and teach for doctrine the commandments of men. There's nothing new under the sun. The same issues that Christ dealt with in his time are the same things that we're dealing with in our time. Jump down to verse 13.
Verse 13, making the word of God of none effect through your tradition, which ye have delivered, and many such like things do ye. And when he had called all the people unto him, he said unto them, hearken unto me, every one of you, and understand.
Listen to me, every one of you, and understand what I'm getting ready to say.
There is nothing from without a man that entering into him can defile him.
That food that y'all are eating, the lamb that y'all cook and eat, even though you didn't wash your hands before you ate, that's not what defiles you. Come on.
But the things which come out of him, those are they that defile the man.
So let's see what Christ was referring to when he said those things that are within, that come out of him or come out of a man. Those are the things that defile you. Read on.
If any man have ears to hear, let him hear. And when he was entered into the house from the people, his disciples asked him concerning the parable. And he said unto them, are ye so without understanding also? Do ye not perceive that whatsoever thing from without entereth into the man, it cannot defile him?
That the lamb that you ate and you didn't wash your hands, the cheese that you ate and you didn't wash your hands, those things don't defile you. Go ahead.
Because it entereth not into his heart.
Because it didn't enter into your mind is sin. That is a tradition of man. That's not a tradition of the Most High. Come on.
But into the belly.
But it enters into the belly. Come on.
And goeth out into the drought.
And when you go to the latrine, to the bathroom, the outhouse at that time, it says it comes out in the drought, purging all meats. You eat the lamb with unwashed hands, it goes into your stomach, and guess what? You excrete it. And that's it. You're not defiled by that. Come on.
Verse 20. And he said, that which cometh out of the man, that defileth the man.
But what comes out of a man, that's what defiles him. So let's see what comes from what's within and that comes out that Christ said defiles a man.
For from within, out of the heart of men,
out of the heart or the minds of men,
proceed evil thoughts.
Because thoughts don't come from the heart that pumps in your chest. Thoughts come from your mind. So when Christ said from out of the heart of men, he's talking about out of the minds of men. Come on.
Proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders, thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within and defile the man.
All these things come from within, and when they come out, those defile a man. Not what is outside and goes in. The lamb that you ate that you didn't wash your hands before. That's not what defiles a man. But fornication, that defiles a man. Because that's within and it comes out. Matthew chapter 15. We're going to end it right here. Matthew chapter 15. Saying the same thing, but I want to end it on this specific verse. You're going to read Matthew chapter 15. You're going to read verses 16 down to 20.
The book of Matthew chapter 15 and verse 16. And Jesus said, are ye also yet without understanding? Do not ye yet understand that whatsoever entereth in at the mouth goeth into the belly, and is cast out into the drought? But those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defile the man.
It says, but those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart or the mind, and they defile the man. Come on.
For out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witnesses, blasphemies. These are the things which defile a man.
These are the things which defile a man.
But to eat with unwashed hands.
But to eat with unwashed hands.
Defileth not a man.
Defiles not a man. Going back to Mark 7 and 15, that's what Christ was dealing with. Eating foods with unwashed hands, the traditions of men, the scribes and the Pharisees rejecting the commandments of God and withholding to their own traditions. All right? I pray you brothers and sisters received understanding from that. With that, we say shalom.
Nation is men leading by example. Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is